Arrogant, entitled, disingenuous, obnoxious. Those are just a few of the names I could use to describe Jake the Fake Paul. And, you know, as I get more into this video, there probably will be a few more epithets that I'm going to call him. But yeah, this video is about Jake the Fake Paul, a guy that I'm increasingly disliking, and I'm going to give you my reasons why. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, when it comes to boxing anyway, Jake Paul is a complete fraud. I believe him to be pimping out the sport of boxing, and I'm upset that boxing is allowing this guy to come into our sport and pretty much have his way with it, and it's starting to get on my nerves. And I'm going to present some arguments as to why that is. I've got them in front of me, so, you know, please bear with me if I look down at my screen every now and again, because I want to make sure I get this right. So I'm going to take him down. I need to make sure I do it properly. Right, so the first thing that I've got with this guy is that he came into boxing in 2018. Nothing wrong with that. He did some training and he talked himself up, and he ended up having what's called a misfits fight, I think it was, with Anderson Gibb, although somehow he managed to become a professional fighter off the back of that fight with Anderson Gibb. So he beats Anderson Gibb, which, of course, he's going to beat Anderson Gibb. He's a lot bigger, a lot stronger. Beat him. And then all of a sudden, he's embarked on this so-called professional boxing career, right, in which he's fought a series of washed-up ex-athletes, basketball players, MMA guys who are in their 40s and 50s, and he's acquired a professional license. He's beaten these guys up, as well he would do, and he's so-called turned himself into a legitimate professional boxer. I mean, he's had 12 fights, right? And if I read you some of the guys that he's fought, I'm sure you will agree with me that it's not exactly a stellar list. Nate Robinson, ex-NBA player, no boxing experience. Ben Askren, at the time he fought Ben Askren, he was a retired MMA fighter. And even in the MMA and the UFC, Ben Askren was known for his wrestling, not for his striking skills. So he got no notable striking skills. Predictably, Jake Paul, who was a lot bigger and stronger and younger, knocked out Ben Askren within a round. Fair play, it was a good punch, but even so, I'm just trying to give you a flavour of what's going on here. Tyrone Woodley, ex-UFC fighter, no pro boxing experience. Jake Paul smokes him twice. Well, he beats him once, smokes him the other time. Again, fair play to Jake Paul in terms of it was a highlight reel knockout, but, you know, even so, Tyrone Woodley was not a professional, but somehow Jake Paul is getting professional wins on his record by fighting ex-UFC fighters. Anderson Silva, 47 years old. 47 years old. And, you know, predictably, Jake Paul beats him by decision. Nate Diaz, ex-UFC fighter, well past his best. Known for his durability, but not necessarily his striking ability. Again, Jake Paul, a lot bigger, a lot stronger, a lot younger, beats him. Mike Tyson. Now, that fight took place at the end of last year, a few months ago. Absolute farce. Anyone who saw that can tell you the same thing. Absolute scam. It was a shameful night for boxing. And I said it on another video. Yes, a lot of people made a lot of money out of it, including Jake Paul himself, including Mike Tyson. People who were involved with the promotion. Even a few of the people on the undercard, they made some good money. But let's be honest, man, in terms of a spectacle, what it did for the sport of boxing was just to drag it down into the gutter. That fight was an utter farce. Mike Tyson, a former legend of the sport, was reduced to a pathetic figure. He could hardly walk to the ring of his own volition. Absolutely terrible night for boxing. And Jake Paul just beat up on Mike Tyson. When I say beat up, he could even barely beat the guy up, you know what I mean? I think Jake Paul, to be fair to him, he carried Mike Tyson in that fight. He could easily have knocked him out, but he didn't. Again, absolutely woeful. So there's that pattern that I'm talking about of him fighting undersized, overage fighters, the majority of them MMA guys, or, you know what I mean, ex-UFC people, totally unrelated to boxing, yet still they're appearing on Jake Paul's record. Right, so the one fighter that he did fight that you could call was a boxer was Tommy Fury. Now, Tommy Fury, those of us in this country will know, Tommy Fury is a professional boxer. He's the half-brother of Tyson Fury, ex-heavyweight champion of the world. Now, Tommy Fury is more known in this country for his exploits in in appearing in reality TV than he is for a boxer. The lad's trying his best, but let's be honest, man, he's mediocre at best. He wouldn't even win an area title in this country, which is like the lowest title you can win. Tommy Fury would not win an area title in this country. And you could talk to anybody that knows anything about boxing. I'm pretty sure they would agree with me on that. Well, guess what? The only fighter with a pulse, basically, you could say, that Jake Paul's fight, what happened? He lost. Now, off the back of that, Jake Paul is calling out people like Canelo, Terence Crawford and one or two others. I've heard him have the audacity to put those guys' names in his mouth. He's actually calling them out off the back of the record that I just gave you. Fighting washed up MMA fighters, losing to Tommy Fury. He's actually got the audacity to be calling out Canelo for a big fight. And guess what? That fight was on the verge of happening. We found out last week that they were in serious negotiations for that fight. And when I heard that, I was really upset with Canelo, by the way. And I'll tell you why as well, because Canelo should know better than this. Canelo is a great fighter himself. You know what I mean? He previously been asked about Jake Paul. He'd always dismissed it. He'd also rubbished it. He said, I only fight real fighters. And then we get to find out that you're negotiating to fight Jake Paul. I felt very let down, disappointed by that when I heard about it. I mean, subsequently, we now know that Turki Al-Sheikh, shout out to him, the main man, stepped in and he said, nope, I want you to come over to us. And he was successful in convincing Canelo to sign a 4-fight deal with him. And so that fight is now off the table, I'm glad to say. And obviously, that hurt Jake Paul, and he came out over the weekend. You may have seen him lambasting Canelo, calling him all sorts of names and stuff. But this is what happens, Canelo. When you lie down with dogs, as I say, you wake up with fleas. Jake Paul is out there rubbishing Canelo, right? Saying that he's ducking him. I'm ducking Jake Paul. Come on, bro. This is disrespectful to the sport. It really is. So for those types of reasons, I've got no truck with Jake Paul at all. I don't like what he's doing to the sport. Some people have tried to balance things up by saying, you know, he's promoted some cards and he's had some fighters on his undercards that have made good money. Okay, fine. And he's also done some good things with Amanda Serrano with her career. Fine. But in terms of him fighting and promoting, if you're not going to fight real fighters and you're not going to build a proper career, then get the hell out of this sport. That is my message to Jake Paul. We've had enough. And I'm speaking now for myself, obviously, but I've spoken to a lot of people, personally and online. And a lot of people have just had it with this guy. I've heard Carl Froch lambasting Jake Paul, one or two other professors. Then more people in the sport need to come out and say to this guy, if you're not going to do it the proper way, the legitimate way, get the hell out of boxing. Because you couldn't do it in any other sport. You couldn't just rock up to tennis and say, I want to take on Yannick Sinner or any one of those guys or Djokovic and become, a Grand Slam winner off the back of you playing a few tennis matches against random guys that you've selected because you know that they're well past their best. You beat them, you say, right, I want to take on someone for a Grand Slam. No, you get laughed out of the sport. And yet in boxing, because of the way boxing is structured or unstructured, shall I say, he gets away with it. And it's really doing my head in, you know what I mean? And we need in boxing to do something about it. You know what I mean? I'm really sick of it now. My message to Jake Paul is go back to Misfits where you belong. You do not belong in a professional boxing ring because you're not prepared to take on the challenges. Why are you not fighting, what's the guy's name? KSI, that's it. I'm so angry at the names that have escaped my attention. You should be fighting guys like KSI. You do not belong in professional boxing. And the reason why I say that is because you're not prepared to take on the challenges. You're not prepared to build. You know what I mean? It's a meritocracy in boxing, or so we like to think. I know it sometimes doesn't play out that way, but you can't just come into the sport and start demanding big fights against big names when you've done absolutely nothing. There's nothing on your resume to suggest that you should be in the same town, let alone the same ring, as an all-time boxing great like Canelo. And like I said, I'm a bit upset that Canelo even entertained the idea. You know what I mean? There's just so much wrong with that, you know what I mean? This guy's done nothing apart from put some money in to promote his shows and stuff like that. Now all of a sudden you're calling yourself the face of boxing. What, Jake Paul? A guy that couldn't even beat Tommy Fury, and you're the face of boxing. Absolute farce. And listen, I'll be interested to hear what you guys say in the comments. I'm hoping that the vast majority of you will agree with me, but I will entertain other people who want to defend this clown, because I just think that he's disrespecting the sport. And I think we as a boxing collective need to tell this guy on your bike. But anyway, that's all I've got for now. I feel strongly enough about this subject, which is why I did this video. It's probably not one of my most articulate videos, but nevertheless, the point needs to be made, and I'll reiterate it now. Jake Paul, if you're not going to conduct yourself in the proper way, get the hell out of boxing and don't come back. But anyway, that's all for me. Thanks for watching this video. I really appreciate it. If you're new to the channel, please like, share and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. I'm out. Take care.